Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? This is Tony Kimball, your host of Transforming Lives podcast. Listen, it's been a little while. I haven't been on in quite some time now, and I'm definitely excited to be on tonight to share with you. And of course, it's a joy to be able to share any information with anybody that you feel as though that can help them live a transformed life. Tonight is no different. I'm solo. Um, I'm excited for my time that was on Instagram. Had some great people on Instagram to share their story. So I decided to come back over to Facebook and begin to share some more. So, guys, I'm excited for this upcoming time that we're going to have for the month of August, September, and October. Have some people lined up, and I'm excited to hear what they have to say because what we want to hear is we want to hear about transformation, and that's what it's about. So here's what I want to do. Those that are joining us, don't forget to give Facebook permission if you care to share, to give any comments of anything like that, please give Facebook permission. I will see your comments as I am here on the screen, but that's kind of how they roll. So tonight is no different than any other night. I want to share some information that will help us move forward in our lives. So tonight, guys, I want to share about the off season. So the off season is something that is super important. That's something that oftentimes we overlook when we're looking from point A to point B, right? So we overlook that. So tonight, I'm going to share information about the separation. When we're in our off season, that's a time where we're down, depending upon your job. My job, my off season is June and July, and sometimes December. So what I want to talk about tonight is just sharing some information that helps everyone that's viewing in their off season. Now, the thing about your off season is this: everybody must go through a period of separation, and doesn't matter the organization that you're in. It doesn't matter. Everybody has to go through a separation. Well, you say, why? Why is separation? What's the point of it? Well, here's the reason why. It's hard to organize your life in the end season. What I consider the end season is the time where you're going to actually apply the information that you gather in the off season. So any organization, you can't do it. It's hard. You can try it out, but there's so many distractions in the end season that it's kind of hard for you to actually go through and carry out what's necessary. So organizations have to develop that time where they can now build up, they can now reshape, they can refocus and look at what's going to happen in the next 5 years. What's going to happen in the next 3 years? What's going to happen in the next 10 years? That's that downtime. That's important to the life of an individual as well. Now, when you are going through your off season, here's the important thing you need to pay attention to. Not only do you need rest, but you need focus. Okay, what is focus? Focus in your off season and your in season are two different things. I can remember as a football coach going through and coaching the players, right? It's something totally different all season and in season, right? You establish your plays, you establish your philosophy, making sure that you're on the right track of your vision in your off season. Now, in your in season, it's all about application. You are applying it. You are getting feedback. You are actually carrying out what you planned for all in the off season. Now, that's a time where you can be under the radar. That's a time where you separate. It's the separation. It's a time where you pull back. That's a time where you're not out and about, but it's a time that you're gathering, researching. That's a time that you're gathering information so that you can now make decisions and be able to move. That's what the off season is, right? So what I want to start out with real quick is a life gem, all right? Life Gym. Now, here's what the Life Gym is, right? A Life Gym is something, information that you're getting that helps you live a transformed life. So here's the first Life Gym, okay? You ready for it? The first Life Gym is development of any kind requires separation and validation. Okay, let me say that again. Development of any kind requires separation and validation. Okay, does that make sense right there? Separation and validation. You're like, what do you mean separation and validation? Now, here's what you got to be careful about. Separation doesn't always look the same. It doesn't. It does not always look the same. And you got to be careful, because if you can't identify, number one, what your off season is, or when it's time to separate, you can stay or become distracted in something that should be separating from. So here's the next thing right here. Your assignment determines how much separation is needed. Okay? Your assignment determines how much separation is needed. Well, you're saying, well, what do you mean by that? Well, if you are a business owner, if you are a entrepreneur, whatever the case may be, there's going to be a difference in your separation and also your off season too. So your assignment determines how much separation is needed, and you have to identify that. Once you identify, hey, this is how much time is needed, this is what I need to do in order to carry out where I want to move in my business or in my life. Now, when you go through separation, it's not only one thing to know, all right, I got to separate, but number two, I need to make sure I'm clear on, in your separation, you must go through a reordering of priorities. Okay? In your separation, you must go through a reordering of priorities. And that's the only way that you can actually go through the reordering, right, of priorities. What's important in your life? Because if you don't, what happens is when you get to your end season, you may not recognize, okay, it's time to move, it's time to make these changes. You may not be able to recognize that unless you, in your off season, reorder your priorities. One, you got to recognize them, reorder them, because that's going to be essential to your life when it's your time. Now, this next thing, which I think is very important, and you can't skip it, and don't let nobody else tell you you can skip this, right? Everybody must go through a period of validation. Validation. Everyone must go through a period of validation. Now, what you're probably saying, man, Tony, what you're talking about? What do you mean by that right there? Validation is either extrinsic, which means something from the outside, or it's intrinsic, means something on the inside, right? You're going to go through those two things in validation. It's either it's going to happen on the outside or it's going to happen on the inside. Because here's the stuff here. When you go through separation, it seems kind of chaotic, and you're like, it's like, what's going on? You know, you're to the side, nobody's talking to you, nobody understands you, you're gathering information, you are reprioritizing your life, and then you go through the validation. Because if you can get those priorities in the right place, what you end up doing is this: validation starts to happen. Okay? And you got to be careful that all validation is not good validation. Okay? All validation is not good validation. So you have to be, and that's why it's important that you go through the whole part of reordering your priorities. So when you reorder your priorities, what that allows you to do is it allows you to hear and see better. And once you hear and see better, you're able to talk better. Once you hear hear better, see better, you talk better. It's not out of that order. You're not talking before you got to be able to hear. That happens in separation. You begin to see differently. You begin to see things that maybe you may not be able to accomplish, but it's that time to get that exposure to it. Okay. So when we talk about validation, the validation period is a time to establish or recognize the core values of your journey. Okay? The validation period is a time to establish or recognize the core values of your journey. Super important. Because if you don't get the core right, all the other parts of the body don't function properly. So if I can get my core right, I didn't understand it when the coach was telling us, look, we're going to do 50 sit-ups. We're going to do 30 sit-ups. We're going to do 30 sit-ups 5 days a week. I didn't get it. Now I get it, because the core of your body is your abdomen, right? Your stomach and your back. That's the core of your body. And everything else has to be, that part of your body has to be strong to support the other part of your body. So that's your core. Your core. What do you believe in? Right? That's the important part of your all season. And if I can establish that in my all season, when my in season comes, not meaning that your in season is going to be perfect, but I am strengthened to be able to handle whatever comes my way. All right. So our next thing we want to look at is another life gem. The absence of core values can cause you to fumble your responsibility. Okay. I think that's worth reading again. The absence of your core values can cause you to fumble your responsibilities. Yeah. So I have to have my core values in line so that when I am encountering something, I'm able to now withstand it. Because it can get very hectic and you got to be able to make decisions quickly. But if my core was developed in my off season, what it allows me to do is you'll be able to say things differently, behave differently, and they're asking, well, how did you do all of that? And you can simply say, this is my off season. Now, your core values, your value system has to be adjusted. It's different in every season of your life. My core values as a teenager are not the same. My core values as a first year educator, fifth year educator are not the same. Now in the season of my life is totally different, and I have to make those adjustments. But I'm not making those adjustments, I make those in the off season. Now, it's important in the off season that you're completely removing all voices from your life. And of course, that may sound crazy, right? And you're like, well, what does that mean? Because at that time, you can't allow it to get tainted. Well, what do you mean by tainted? It means that it could be information that's coming in your ear. You got to be careful, because if you're not careful, those cores can get into yours. So it's important that you establish your core values in your off season, guys. Look, I was just going to stay on here a couple of minutes, guys. I'm excited to be back on. So if you are viewing this a little later, guys, drop a couple of nuggets in the comment box as well. I'll chat back with you, and appreciate you coming on. Now, here's some homework, okay? Got some homework. I'm gonna do a little homework. School is about to start back, and I want to list some homework assignment that I think that will be very helpful for you. Because one of the things I stress tonight is not only off season and separation. Another one is looking at your core values. Okay. So here is your homework assignment. Let me put it up here. All right. Here's what you want to do. List your priorities on a paper or on your phone. And the thing about your values are shown in your action. So you're going to find your piece of paper, you're going to find your phone, whatever you're going to write it down on, whatever you're going to type it on, list your priorities, okay? And the thing about priority is what you value is shown in your action. So guys, I appreciate y'all coming on tonight. This is Transforming Lives podcast. We are also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, all major networks. We're on there. Transforming Lives, guys. I would appreciate if you would do this for me. Please go on, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know how things are going. All right. So, guys, thank you very much. Meet me next week, Tuesday, 7:30, same time, as we continue the off season, the separation. Guys, have a wonderful night. This is Tony Kimball signing out.